Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Erica, and today's video is going to be another collab with my beautiful, sexy, gorgeous, amazing, talented friend, Andi from Andi Does Stuff. And of course, I'll have her channel linked in my description box. Now, Andi is one of my dearest and most specialist friends, and I just feel very lucky to have her in my life. I truly do. She's just such a wonderful person. And we've done several collabs together, and it's always an absolute blast. And the collabs that we've done primarily have been like 80s and 90s, like pop culture-y type stuff. And we've gotten some really positive feedback from doing those collabs together, so we thought we'd do another one. So what I did is I came up with 15 phenomenon that happened in the 80s, and then 15 phenomenon that happened in the 90s. And we're just going to be talking about our memories of these phenomenons from the 80s and the 90s. Now, we initially were going to use the Nomad Cosmetics Fire and Ice Iceland palette, but then Andi suggested we use a different palette that we both have in our collections. And that is the Roll Beauty Ozzy Bat palette, because, you know, Ozzy was super popular in the 80s and the 90s. So we felt like, well, Andi felt like this fit really well with this collab. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And this is one of my favorite palettes in my collection. I love it. I love the fact that it's shaped like a bat. And also I love this color story and the fact that we have Ozzy here. I mean, isn't that just the coolest? Now, I would say that 80s and 90s, well, maybe more 80s, were pretty blue eyeshadow heavy, but I've used those quite a bit. So I'm thinking I'm going to use this half of the palette is what I'm thinking. I don't know. I might change my mind, but that's what I'm thinking today. So yeah, I was just thrilled when she said she had this palette because I've used this a few times and I just love it. I love it. So I do have my brows done and both eyelids are primed in the P. Louise eyeshadow base in Rumor 01. Now, let me tell you something though before I get started into the real video here. We were just going to do our eye looks, and Andi's already filmed this because she's very organized and I am not. And she said, actually, I was getting so into talking about these different things that I ended up doing my whole face. So I'm going to do that today. I don't know if, well, I may not do my whole face, but I'll do the majority of my face on camera today. And also, I did try to film this yesterday. However, I was about halfway through, well, had gotten one eye done, and I look over at my phone and it says, your iPhone storage is full, and it just stopped filming. And I'm like, what? So I had to spend a bunch of time taking a bunch of pictures off. And luckily, Jan Van rescued me. And she said, what you can do, Erica, is just pull your photos into Amazon Photo, and then you can take them all off your phone if you want. And then delete the deleted photos. I didn't know you had to do that. So I did that. Now my phone's doing just fine. It's working just fine. Jan, thank you. Okay, so let's get into this video here. I think what I will do is start off with, this is always so hard for me to open because I'm not very bright. I think what I'll do is start off with this shade right here. This is called Fearless. And I think it's like a sequin matte. I've never used this one before. And I'm going to put that in my outer V's. And then I think what I'll do is maybe blend this shade out with either this or this, I'm not sure. And then on my lid, my shimmers, I think what I'm going to do is this, and maybe some of that too. Throw a little blue in there. That might look kind of cool. So like I said, I'm going to start off with Fearless and put that in my outer V. What did you think of the following 80s phenomenon? Number 1, breakdancing. Oh, I loved breakdancing. And hold on, because I think, yeah, this is pretty creasy. I thought breakdancing was the coolest thing ever. I still think it's the coolest thing ever. And I think the very first time I really saw breakdancing was at the high school that my dad taught at and coached at. There were, I think, 4 or 5 students that had formed this breakdancing dance group. And they were performing at one of their pep assemblies. And my dad knew that I would love to see this. So he actually called me out of class that day. I was like in the 3rd grade, I think. And had me come to the high school with him so I could watch these kids perform during the pep assembly. And they were absolutely amazing. There were 3 guys and a girl, and they were just unreal. And not only did they break dance, but they rapped, and it was just the coolest thing, you know? And at this point, you know, that really wasn't seen a whole lot. Well, at least not in the area where I was living. That really wasn't seen a whole lot. So to see that kind of art form was just amazing. I mean, it was truly, absolutely amazing. I loved it. And, now my husband and I love to watch So You Think You Can Dance. Well, any kind of dance type show. There was like America's Best Dance Crew that was on MTV, and like, what is it, The World of Dance, that Jennifer Lopez and I think Neo and Derek Huff, is that how you say his last name? They host that. That hasn't been on for a while. I don't know what happens. Like they have them on and then they just stop being on. And I love them. They're such great shows. But I love like the B-boys and B-girls, the breakdancers that are on those shows. Oh, they're so fun. And I can remember getting like those slick Nike sweat tracksuit things. They're not nylon. What are they? I don't know. And getting a cardboard box and undoing the cardboard and putting that down like in the living room or out in the garage and trying to do back spins and head spins, which I never could master. It's a miracle I didn't end up in the emergency room. Okay, I really like that shade. That's really nice, very pigmented. And I think what I'll do now is take this brush and just kind of go around the outside edge there and just kind of blend that out a little bit more. Number 2, lip syncing. Well, let's see. I feel like lip syncing was more popular in the 90s, but when I was looking up stuff for this video, it said that lip syncing came on the scene in the 80s. I guess if I'm thinking about it though, like for the MTV videos and stuff, people would often lip sync their songs, acting out the song or whatever during their videos. So I guess that makes sense. But I can remember like Milli Vanilli, and that was in the 90s, them getting busted for lip syncing. And then also CNC Music Factory, when they did Gonna Make You Sweat, that was Martha Washington, not the woman that they had in the video and whatnot. So I can remember that. I can also remember, hearing about like Britney Spears lip syncing, which I think she still does that, which I don't like Britney Spears. I can't stand her. Like I think about Pink, who is this acrobatic singer the whole time she's doing her concerts, and she doesn't lip sync a note, a word. So whatever. But I also can remember in the 80s and into the 90s having air band competitions at school where kids would lip sync a certain song, and like get judged for it. And when I was a junior in high school, so that was 1991, 2 of my friends and we performed in the air band concert talent show thing in Vogue's Never Gonna Get It. And it was so fun. We got 3rd place and we looked hot. I mean, we looked pretty damn good back then. So yeah, that was really fun. So I thought lip syncing was fine, unless it's Britney Spears, and I can't stand it. Number 3, Where's the Beef Wendy's commercial. Do you guys remember that commercial? Well, those of you that were not raised in the 80s and 90s, you would not. And part of the reason why Andi and I love to do these together is because we were raised in the 80s and 90s. But that was the funniest commercial, and it became this huge thing. Like people had Where's the Beef t-shirts and bumper stickers, all kinds of stuff. And I can remember showing my kids that commercial on like YouTube when they were younger. And they were like, I don't get it. What's so funny? I'm like, this is amazing. And they didn't think it was amazing. They thought it was stupid. Okay, so now I think what I'll do is put this shade down next to this. This is called The Wizard. It's this beautiful kind of purpley, burgundy, kind of satiny shimmer shade. Number 4, the Berlin Wall coming down in Germany. And I absolutely remember that. I remember watching that on the news with my parents and my mom, explaining to me what was going on and just seeing the wall coming down, and then also seeing people who were living on either side of the wall who were like friends or family members, like reuniting and hugging and kissing and cheering. And it was just so, moving and wonderful. And just trying to imagine what that must have felt like to, be in that situation where you're living on a completely different, same country, but a completely different side of these walls and not being able to see each other. I just could not even imagine how that must have felt. So that was an awesome thing to see that wall come down and see people, like I said, celebrating in the street. And it was awesome. Number 5 is America's Top 40 Countdown with Casey Kasem. Oh yeah, I was such a huge fan of that radio program. So fun. And oops, this is creasing again. Jeez, this gets pretty creasy if you don't like get on it right away. And I think this side, yeah, let's get the creases out. I can remember, I think it was on Saturday or Sundays, right? And I can remember getting up and turning my stereo on, and then also getting like a blank tape out to tape the songs that were on the top 40, you know, because we'd make mixtapes out of the songs we'd listen to on the radio. And that was the best time to do it because you knew you were going to hear all the great songs, all the new, you know, popular songs. And Kasem, if you guys have never heard his voice, I would check it out because he had the best voice for radio. Absolutely the best. I mean, it was just unlike anybody else's voice on the radio. And to this day, I mean, Rick Dees is pretty good too, because now he does the top 40, right? Or top 100 or whatever he does. I don't know. I don't listen to it anymore. But that was such a huge part of my like grade school into middle school life, was listening to the Kasem countdown. It was so fun. So I think what I'll do is, should I get a different brush? Probably. I think I'll grab this brush right here. And now I think what I'll do is go into Sin. It's this really pretty kind of cream colored satiny shimmer shade, and put that down right here. And then I think what I might do is take my finger and bop a little bit of Lords down in between those two shades. The next one is Challenger Space Shuttle Explosion. Oh yeah, I totally remember that. I was in the 6th grade. That was 1986. And, you know, Krista McAuliffe was on that space shuttle. You know, she was the teacher that got chosen to be on that space shuttle. And so my 6th grade class, or well, the whole 6th grade student body actually, went into one of the larger classrooms, and we had a TV set up, and, you know, we were going to watch the space shuttle take off and, you know, go up into space. And, you know, we were all sitting together on the ground and all like holding hands and all excited. And, you know, my mom was a teacher at my middle school, so my mom was there too. And, you know, everybody was just, you know, you could feel the excitement in the air. Everyone was just so like, you know, Krista's going up into space. And, you know, we'd been watching like all of the news programming prior to the shuttle taking off, and, you know, just really into it. And when that exploded, I mean, you could have heard a pin drop in the classroom. It was so surreal that it happened. Like, I remember some kids thinking like, is this like a prank? You know, even though that was before pranks, but you know, we're like, really, but just thinking this didn't really just happen. And it obviously had happened. And I can remember them showing the reaction of the crowd, because there was a huge crowd there. It was at Cape Canaveral, I believe. And, you know, this huge crowd of people, family members and friends. And what do? You know, there's nothing you can do. And I actually just watched, my husband and I just watched a documentary on Netflix about this whole situation, what happened, and like the lead up to the shuttle launch and explosion, and just kind of what happened, what went wrong. Very interesting documentary. And, you know, it was just awful. I can remember, you know, teachers in the classroom that I was in started to cry. My mom was in tears. I was in tears. My friends were in tears. I mean, you know, it's horrible. Just such a awful thing to have happen. Number 7, Michael Jackson being burned in a Pepsi commercial. Oh yeah, I totally remember that. I remember them showing footage of it on the news. And I think what I remember happening is that he was getting ready to go onto the stage to like perform for this commercial, and he had a lot of product in his hair, and he was standing by this really hot bright light, and it just caught his hair on fire. And that was just awful. And I can remember them showing him leaving the hospital with the bandage around his head, and so grateful that he was okay. Like, you know, I mean, he could have died, that could have killed him. And just thinking, oh, thank goodness he's okay, because, you know, I was madly in love with Michael Jackson and loved his music and everything else. So I think what I will do now, because this looks a little funky right there, is grab this brush again, this one, and then just go around here and just kind of make sure that's looking a little bit more like it's supposed to be together, I guess I would say. Number 8, The Simpsons show debuts its first episode. Okay, so I was not able to watch The Simpsons growing up because as a teacher, my mom thought Bart Simpson was like, you know, devil incarnate. So I was not allowed to watch The Simpsons at home. I would watch it on occasion at my friends' houses, you know, like sneak and watch The Simpsons, but I didn't ever really watch it at home. You know, I think I did sneak it a couple times, but yeah, my mom would have killed me if she'd seen me watching The Simpsons. She hated Bart Simpson. She just thought he was like the most incorrigible, you know, child on TV, and that it was just going to make all of us act like Bart Simpson. So now I think I will go into Lords with my finger and just pop a little bit of this like right there, just to see if I can make that look a little bit more fun right here. All right, cool. Yeah, I dig it. I'm going to have to mess around with this just a little bit. But yeah, I do like that. That's pretty fun. I do watch The Simpsons now, however. My husband and I like to watch The Simpsons. Like we'll watch an episode or two before we go to bed at night, which I know seems kind of dorky, but it's hilarious. I mean, it's really a funny show. And the writing is just superb, I think. And Homer is just such a goofball. I love Maggie. I think she is just so adorable. I'm always like, honey, look at Maggie. Isn't she cute? And he's like, it's a cartoon. But yeah, okay, she's super cute. Number 9, Prince Charles marries Lady Di. Oh yeah, I totally remember that. And my mom and I were obsessed with Princess Diana. Obsessed. And we both just thought she was such an amazing woman. And she was. You know, she was just such a beautiful person inside and out. And, you know, I'm not a fan of Prince Charles. I think he's kind of a jackass. Okay, this, I'm going to clean my finger off. And I'm going to go, well, let's just use my middle finger. I'm going to go into sin, not to flip you off. Just put a little bit of this down right here and just kind of smush that together. Yeah, I didn't really ever like Prince Charles. But I remember thinking that like, oh, they're so madly in love with each other and how wonderful. And then, you know, later on you found out that no, they were never, well, she was madly in love with him. He was never really madly in love with her. I think he had an affair the entire time they were together. So yeah, I mean, he was just kind of a schmutz. I didn't like him. But at that time when they got married, I thought he was pretty cool. And I thought they were, you know, just like the fairy tale, princess and prince getting married, whatever. But my mom and I, we were super into Princess Diana, super into her. And I kind of want to use a brush to do this. I think I'm just going to take this brush that I used the white shade on and just kind of feather that a little bit. Looks a little funky. But yeah, we were super into her fashion, her, her, what's it called? Humanitarian acts, things like that. You know, we just thought she was so amazing. And I can remember, of course, when she had her sons. And I remember that wedding being just over the top and so beautiful in her dress and her veil. And didn't she have a veil on, I think? Just, you know, just the pinnacle of like what you want your wedding to be. My wedding was nowhere near that. So now I'm going to go back into Fearless and just take that little edge away. The next one is MTV is launched. Oh yeah, totally remember MTV being launched. I know Andy and I have already talked about our experience with MTV being launched, but that was one of the coolest things of my like adolescent. Well, I was like 7. So, but you know, my childhood into my adolescence, it was so awesome to have MTV. Oh man. And the very first video I ever saw, and I've already talked about this too, was 1999 by Prince and the Revolution. And I just was captivated by it and just thought it was the coolest thing to be able to see the musical artists, you know, like acting out their songs in a sense, you know, it was just so cool. And it's kind of a bummer because, you know, oh, I don't have cable, but my husband and I, we've gone to see the baby and we'll be watching cable TV in the hotel and we'll see MTV and we'll go, oh, let's watch MTV. And it's not MTV. It's just all this weird stuff. Like there's no videos or anything. I'm like, what the hell? Why is that? I don't get that. So I kind of feel sad for like the youth of today that they don't get to see music videos really. I mean, I don't know, maybe we're watching the wrong MTV channel. There's like 40 of them now. Okay, so now I'm going to put on my foundation, which is this. This is the Folklore Poreless in 02 that I got in some PR from Timo, and keep going here. The next one is Michael Jordan is named NBA's Rookie of the Year. I was like obsessed with Michael Jordan. I'm still kind of obsessed with Michael Jordan. I mean, in my opinion, he is the best basketball player to ever play the game. And I do get a little annoyed when I hear people like comparing like LeBron James to Michael Jordan. I'm like, no, sorry, but no. I mean, I'm not, you know, LeBron's fine, but he's not anywhere near as good as Michael Jordan, I don't think. I know some people are probably going to argue with me about that, and that's fine. We can argue, that's okay. But I just will always believe that Michael Jordan is the best basketball player ever, and just phenomenal to watch, and just out of this world with his talent. You know what I mean? I can remember seeing him literally like touch off on the half court line, right? And just fly through the air with his tongue out and slam the ball, you know? I mean, nobody could do that at that point. And I mean, maybe people can do it now, but I don't care. They don't have nearly the same flair or the same talent as far as I'm concerned as Michael Jordan. Just, oh. And, watching him progress throughout his NBA career and seeing all the amazing things that he could do, just so cool. And there's also a documentary about Michael Jordan on Netflix too, which is absolutely amazing. Highly recommend checking that out. Number 12, Nintendo releases the Game Boy. I could not have a Game Boy or any other kind of gaming systems growing up. Although my mom bought that stuff for my kids. Isn't it funny how that works? But I would play the Game Boy, my friend's Game Boy, at her house. And it was always Tetris, and I loved it. And, I can kind of see why my mom didn't want me to have it, because as soon as I'd start playing it, it was like the whole world just tuned out, and I was like, and the blocks and the. So I got it. I probably wouldn't have gotten a lot of, my chores and my homework done if I'd had a Game Boy at my house. But now it's like you can play games on your phone and stuff. So I don't think that's really as big of a deal as it was then. But when the Game Boy came out, it was a big deal. I mean, everybody was super into it. And, yeah, it was a great memory when I would go to my friend's house. I could play with it. Number 13, the wreck of the Titanic was discovered. And I'm sure I did see that. I know I had to have, I guess. I don't know. I just don't really have any memories of that. I was asking my husband about that, and he's like, yes, I remember that. You don't remember that? I'm like, not really. I don't know. Maybe I just blocked it out or something, but I just don't really remember that being discovered. I mean, I know it was discovered, so I must remember it somewhere in my subconscious, but I don't know. I just don't remember seeing it on the news or anything. Number 14, Prince's Purple Rain album spends 24 weeks atop the Billboard 200. Oh yeah, and I did a whole video about Prince. Oh, loved Prince, still love Prince, love Purple Rain. I mean, the whole shebanger. Love that so much. It was such a great album. And oh yeah, just, that was one of my favorite albums ever made, if not my favorite album ever made, And the fact that it was so popular, I love it. And it's so funny because my husband and I have talked about this multiple times, like, what do you think the best soundtrack of all time is? And he'll say like, well, this or that or whatever. And I'm like, it's Purple Rain. He's like, it's not Purple Rain. I'm like, it is Purple Rain. And so we'll go look it up, and every single list we've ever looked at, Purple Rain is number one. Now I'm gonna put on a little bit of concealer just under my eyes, and this is the CoverGirl True Blend Undercover Concealer. And I have no idea what shade this is in because the sticker's gone. And then the last one for the 80s here is E.T. is the most popular movie of the 1980s. And I remember vividly seeing E.T. in the theater. And we had gotten there kind of late. It was my mom and dad and I, we'd gotten there kind of late. And so we had to sit in the very front row of the theater and like look straight up at the screen. Oh, that was awful. But I didn't care because I wanted to see E.T. so bad. And it was such a good movie. God, that was a good movie. And that's one that I will watch every so often, usually around Halloween time. We didn't watch it this year, but I just loved E.T. I still do. So cute. My mom actually got my daughter a life-size E.T. doll when she was little. And Sydney loved that. She'd sleep with it at night, and when you'd squeeze its finger, it would say phone home or go home or whatever. And I'll be right here. And it was so cute. Love that doll. But yeah, I mean, E.T., that was such a like classic 80s movie, obviously it was popular for a reason. Now I'm gonna powder my face, and I'm gonna use the Mineral Loose Flawless Foundation Powder from Makeup Mecca in the shade Neutral Fair that my dear friend Linda sent to me from Sweden. So now we're gonna get into the 90s phenomenon. Number 1, the shows Friends and Seinfeld became 2 of the most popular TV shows of all time. Oh yeah, I love both. I actually liked Friends more when I was younger. And now I'm a huge Seinfeld fan because my husband and I do watch that on Netflix sometimes too. At first, I don't know why, I just really didn't get into Seinfeld as much as I got into Friends. And I had friends that just loved Seinfeld, and I was just like, it's okay. And they're like, it's okay, it's hilarious. I don't know. I think it just took me a while for my humor maybe to mature to that level or something. I don't know. But I had friends in college, like my roommates, and then we had a couple neighbors that would come over on Thursday nights. That's always when it was on. It was Friends, Seinfeld, and then ER, or was it Melrose Place? I can't remember. I know we watched Melrose Place too. But yeah, we had a blast having those get-togethers and watching those shows. It was so much fun. Such a great memory from my college years. For my lower water lines, I'm gonna use this blue one from Milani. This is the Milani Stay Put Waterproof Eyeliner in Keep on Sapphire. I just thought the blue would look cool with that little blue accent I put on the lid. I don't know, we'll see. Number 2, the Cold War comes to an end. And yeah, I remember that. I remember that being, that whole situation with the Cold War being on the news constantly, and, being terrified of, an actual war happening here. I can also remember the movie Red Dawn coming out in the 80s. I've watched that movie so many times. I own the movie. I've seen it a million times. And thinking, like, could this possibly happen? Like, but just feeling a lot of, like, happiness that it had come to a resolution. Yeah, I do remember my parents talking a lot about, or my parents were divorced by that point, but my mom talking a lot about that and watching a lot of news coverage and, educating me on what was going on. Number 3, the internet is born. And oh boy, do I remember the internet coming around. I was in college and just being absolutely blown away by it because, like my whole life I had spent in the library looking up things like, microfiche and microfilm and all this stuff, and, doing interlibrary loans and stuff in high school. Like, I was doing a research paper. Sometimes my high school wouldn't have the research or the sources that I needed. So I'd have to do like this interlibrary loan from another school or a college or whatever. And all of a sudden, here's the internet. You can find this stuff right there, right at your fingertips. Sit down, type it in, and boom. I mean, it wasn't the same as it is now. Not nearly the same, but still, I mean, it was pretty cool. And thinking, how did this happen? How did they figure this out? How did they invent this? I still don't understand how the internet works. I don't think I ever really truly will understand how it works. I mean, I've talked to so many people about it and asked them, like, I don't get it. What is this? And I don't know. But the coolest invention, I think. Well, it also has its drawbacks. You know what I mean? The internet also can be not the most fun place in the world, but just made learning about things and finding out things, and I don't know, like research papers, especially when I was in college, like I said, it's when it came out, made things so much easier in regards to that. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. Number 4, Braveheart, Clueless, and Home Alone were 3 of the most popular movies. Yes. Braveheart was probably my favorite out of those 3. I also really like Clueless. I've seen that a million times. And then, of course, Home Alone. I'm pretty sure I saw the movie Home Alone 4 times in the movie theater when it came out. I was just kind of obsessed with Macaulay Culkin. I thought he was so cute. And, Braveheart is one of my absolute favorites. I can remember when my son broke his ankle, we watched that movie together and he just sobbed. But, just really great movies. I feel like they don't make movies like that anymore. They just don't make those kind of like memorable, heart-wrenching, funny, goofy. Oh, they still make funny, goofy movies, I guess. But I don't know. I just feel like those 3 movies were kind of like in a class unto themselves, Number 5, we lost Tupac Shakur and Kurt Cobain. That was absolutely awful. And I was in college when both of those deaths occurred. And both times, actually, my roommates and I were getting ready to go to like a party. And I mean, it just shut down the entire college campus, both of their deaths. Just, we were all just absolutely devastated by that. Absolutely. And, they were both such pioneers in their genres of music. And there's no way those 2 people could ever be replaced in music either. You know what I mean? Like there's a huge hole where Tupac Shakur and Kurt Cobain used to be in the music world. Absolutely. And I was a huge fan of both of them. I could rap word for word a lot of Tupac's songs, and then also, loved Kurt Cobain and Nirvana, and, had their CDs, and, it was so devastating when they both passed away. It was awful. Okay, now I'm at a bronze, and I am going to use my Desert Oasis palette. I'm doing a really good job with that. Go into Canyon, right? It's getting a little blown out in here, but I'm going to bronze my face now. Number 6, Jagged Little Pill by Alanis Morissette and the Bodyguard soundtrack dominated the Billboard charts. Yes, they did, and I love both. Love both. Huge Alanis Morissette fan. Huge. I would scream, shriek her songs everywhere I went, basically, when I was in college. And then, of course, The Bodyguard. I mean, I've seen that movie so many times. I'm pretty sure I own that on DVD, too. And loved that soundtrack. Whitney Houston is one of my all-time faves. Just, very different types of music, but just such great songs, just, and they'd get in your head and you'd sing them all day. And, I loved the Bodyguard movie, that love story between Whitney Houston and Kevin Costner. You know, that was a great movie. Great movie. And Whitney Houston was an awesome actress. I just, you know, singer, actress. I mean, she was the whole package. Absolutely. Number 7, Mortal Kombat was the most popular video game. Fight! Johnny Cage, Liu Kang, Sonya. I mean, yeah, I used to play Mortal Kombat. Not at my house, because my mom, of course, would never let me have that kind of stuff. But in college, I was not living at my house, and I'm getting way too much bronzer on my face. Hold on a second. I gotta take this down a little bit. Jeez. I do that every time. That's why I don't always love to bronze my face, because I go in a little hard. But like, I can remember my boyfriend, my college boyfriend and I, and then our roommates and stuff playing like Mortal Kombat tournaments. You know, what was that on the Sega Genesis or whatever game system? Oh yeah, so fun. And I could remember when like the Mortal Kombat movie came out, and so great. And my favorite character, or my favorite person to be when I played that game, was Sub-Zero. Loved Sub-Zero. He was such a badass, you know, just and Frisia. And I mean, it was pretty violent. It was pretty violent, you know, like you get people's spinal cords get ripped out. I mean, you know, we don't need to go into detail. I guess I kind of did. But yeah, it was pretty gross. But, you know, still, really fun game. It really was. I know, sounds weird, but it was just a great video game. Number 8, rollerblading and step aerobics were the exercise activities of choice. Oh yeah. Now I did rollerblade, but I wasn't that great at it. I loved to roller skate and ice skate, but I don't know, rollerblading just, I don't know, it was a little dangerous for me. But I love to do step aerobics. And actually my college roommate, her ex-boyfriend's dad made us like these big wooden steps that we could do step aerobics on. And we had like this Reebok step aerobics tape that we would do step aerobics to in our apartment in college. Oh, that was so fun. I even took step aerobics classes. You know, it was a great way to exercise. And I felt like it did do a really good job of like, I don't know, keeping me in shape and stuff. I mean, we would have step aerobic-a-thon. Oops, my hair's sticking up. We would have step aerobic-a-thon evenings, you know, where we'd do like the tape like 3 times in a row and just be exhausted and sweaty. And actually, let me back up here. My step at first, because my roommates, the ex-boyfriend's dad made them to the steps. I took 2 miniature ironing boards and belted them together. That was my step initially. And then the ex-boyfriend's dad saw me use that one time. Him and his wife had stopped by to drop off. They spoiled us rotten in college. They'd give us like cookies and groceries and stuff. I don't know, kind of a strange situation, but it was totally normal to us back then. Anyway, he saw me using the 2 little ironing boards belted together, and he made me my own step, which was wonderful. Yeah. And I used to fall off of it, and oh man, miracle I didn't break my ankle. And now for blush, I'm going to use my L'Oreal True Match Super Blendable Blush in the shade Spiced Plum. I love this blush. It's so great. Number 9, Cindy Crawford introduced the world to the term supermodel. Yeah, and I was obsessed with supermodels. My favorites were Linda Evangelista and Christy Turlington. I just thought they were the coolest. I also loved Christy Brinkley, Naomi Campbell, Tyra Banks. I mean, you know, a lot of women, I just thought they were so amazing. And of course, I wanted to be just like them. Of course, I never will be a supermodel ever. But yeah, I mean, I just was like, and I thought Cindy Crawford was gorgeous too. But yeah, my faves were Linda and Christy. Oh man, they were just so gorgeous. And also, I remember really liking Kathy Ireland. I thought she was really pretty too. But you know, that was like, when I feel like, well, I don't know what their habits were like, but I feel like that was when maybe it was a little bit healthy. You know, that we went through the waif model situation in like the late 90s, right? And that seemed so extreme to me. And I mean, I don't, like I said, I don't know, but I don't know. I felt like the supermodels with the Cindy Crawfords and the Christy Turlingtons and stuff, they just seemed like they looked healthier, maybe. Not quite so emaciated. I could be totally wrong on that. I don't know. But yeah, I really loved supermodels. I loved watching like the Victoria's Secret fashion shows and that kind of stuff. I thought it was really cool. Now for my highlighter. I think I'm just going to grab one out of here. And I think I'm going to use, which one should I use? This one right here. This is called Bliss. I'm going to put that on my face. Number 10, the Macarena was the most popular dance craze. Oh yeah, I've done the Macarena a million times at bars and in my living room and who knows, everywhere. weddings, parties. Oh yeah, Macarena was a big deal. And this is a little bit too gold for this look, but you know what? I chose it. I'm gonna stick with it. Yeah, I mean, it was just such a fun dance to do. You know, it's kind of dorky, but it was really fun. And that was huge. I mean, if you were anywhere and that song came on, you better get your ass out on the dance floor and do the Macarena, or you were a total dork. Nobody liked you. Number 11, Tickle Me Elmo was the most sought after toy. Oh yeah, I got my daughter a Tickle Me Elmo and it drove me nuts. Oh, I mean, you know, after she pushed on that little tummy thing 4,000 times, you're like, I think I'll just go disconnect that. Number 12, East Coast versus West Coast rap. You know, I loved both East Coast and West Coast rap. There was no way I was going to choose between the two. I will say though that West Coast rap was probably my favorite in terms of, well, I don't know, I liked East Coast rappers too. I mean, but like Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, you know, Tupac. I mean, that's West Coast rap, and that was what I listened to the most. NWA, Eazy-E, Ice Cube. I mean, that was really what I was super into. So I guess I would have to say West Coast rap, because those are the people that are really like solid in my mind. So yeah, I guess I'd say West Coast. I'm from the West Coast. Makes sense. Number 13, Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears were the it couple. And you guys know how I feel about Britney Spears. Oh, can't stand her. I love Justin Timberlake, but I will say I was a little disappointed in him that he was with Britney Spears. I was like, what, Justin? Why Britney? You know, I mean, just, ugh. I don't know. She just always seemed very fake to me. And I can't stand her singing voice. I know some of you really like Britney Spears and you're probably never going to watch my channel again. But yeah, I just was not a fan of hers. And then I think, didn't she cheat on him? Because isn't Cry Me a River about her cheating on him? See, and that's what I was like, see, Justin, you get what you deserve. If you're going to go out with her, she's going to cheat on you. Number 14, girl bands versus boy bands. I like the boy bands better. I did like Spice Girls, sort of, but they got real old to me real fast. Although I loved TLC. Loved TLC. I still love TLC. I just listened to Crazy Sexy Cool on my way to work the other day. Love TLC. But, you know, I really did like NSYNC and Backstreet Boys and 98 Degrees and whatever else. There's a ton. You know, of course, New Kids on the Block. New Edition. New Edition is the best boy band that's ever boy banded in the universe. I'm telling you. If you guys have never listened to New Edition, you're missing out. So good. And I think, actually, are they touring right now? I think they are touring right now. And I don't know if they're going to come to my town. I should check into that. They may have already come here. If they came here and I didn't know it and I didn't see them, I will never forgive myself. But yeah, I just love New Edition. And then of course, you know, when they switched into, or, you know, split up into Belle Biv DeVoe, and, you know, Bobby Brown went on his own single career or whatever, or solo career. And then, you know, like Ralph Tresvant and Johnny Gill, all of them, just so good. Oh, so good. And they're all adorable and, you know, super cute. Well, they're grown men now, but, you know, they started off when they were kids and I thought they were all super cute. Had crushes on all of them. But, you know, just amazing musicians. They did perform at the Dick Clark New Year Rockin' Eve, or is it Ryan Seacrest New Year? I don't know. New Year Rockin' Eve. I don't know. But anyway, they performed there. So cool. I was just like screaming and crying and freaking out. My husband's like, calm down. Calm down. Okay, I think that looks pretty good, and I'm surprised I could do that and talk at the same time. And this is the Wet n Wild Breakup Proof Waterproof Liquid Eyeliner, Felt Tip Liner in black. I love it. The last one here, number 15, the cell phone comes onto the scene. Oh boy, jeez. I mean, when we first got cell phones, they were these huge bricks, costed you an arm and a leg to use it. You know, just ridiculous. But then obviously as time went on, they got smaller and more affordable. You know, here's the thing. I love having a cell phone, and then I also hate having a cell phone. I can remember when there were no cell phones and, you know, you couldn't just immediately get a hold of somebody. You know, you could like go do something and not feel like you were tied to the world constantly, you know? And there's been a couple times actually that I've left my cell phone at home and gone to work and felt this like panic, like, oh, like almost like I was going to work naked, but then also feeling like this huge sense of relief. Like, I don't have my cell phone today. Woohoo! And, you know, I do really try like on the weekends, at least for a good 24 hours, if I can, to put my cell phone away and just not even look at it, because, you know, we all need that break. I feel like we just don't always need to be so plugged into everything. But then at the same time, you do need to be plugged into everything. I don't know. It's just the way things are set up now. Like, I don't even have a home phone. You know, I haven't had a home phone in years. So, I mean, that's the only way people really can get a hold of me is with my cell phone. So I don't know. What do you guys think about cell phones? Do you love them? Do you hate them? Do you have like a love-hate with a relationship like I do with my cell phone? Anyway, so I'm going to go off camera, do my mascara, my lipstick, and get my hair dried. I will come back. This is the finished look, and I really like how this look turned out. I did grab another shade out of the eyeshadow palette and put it in my inner corners, and I'll show you that here in just a minute. But the lipstick that I used off camera is this one right here. This is from SheGlam. This is a liquid lipstick in the shade City Nights. I really like the shade, although it does look a little drying on me today. And it'll stay in place all day, but I cannot find my cab lip oil. I was gonna put some of that over the top of this, and it must have fallen onto the ground and the cat's probably got it, so who knows if I'll ever see it again. But I do need to get some more of that. And then for my mascara, I use the Nobu Cosmetics Nobu Lash. Again, of course, I did. I'm gonna use this all the way up. I love this. So now for the eyeshadow palette, Ozzy Bat palette from Roll Beauty. Oh yeah. I use this shade right here called Sato or Sato, S-A-T-O, stands for Sharon Arden Thelma Osborne, which is, Thelma is Ozzy's ex-wife and Sharon is Ozzy's current wife. And it's really pretty iridescent, like light blue with like some lavender and pinky shifty stuff going on. And I just love to use it in my inner corners. It's gorgeous. And I really liked all the shades that I used today. I was really fun to use this shade here, Fearless, that I had never used before. And this shade, Hellraiser, I don't think I've used that yet. So that's, I think, the only shade out of this palette I still have yet to use. But I just love it. I love the color story. I love the quality, the formula. Really fun to put looks together with this palette. I don't know that this is still available on the Makeup Revolution website. Roll Beauty went out of business or was absorbed by Makeup Revolution, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if it's still available, but if it is, highly recommend picking it up because it's really fun to have this in my collection. And I cannot wait to watch Andi's look come together, see what shades she chose to put a look together out of that palette. And also listen to her talk about her memories of the 80s and 90s phenomenon I came up with for us to talk about in this video today, our collab video. It's really interesting doing these kind of collabs with Andi because often our answers are very similar, if not absolutely the same. And I know that Andi and I would have been the best of friends growing up in the 80s and 90s. We would have had so much fun together, gotten in so much trouble together. I really do wish that she and I had known each other when we were younger, but just so blessed to know her now. She is one of my dearest friends, very special to me, very near and dear to my heart. And if you guys have not yet gone and subscribed to her channel, I cannot recommend her highly enough. She is just wonderful, has so much fun content. She is beautiful, she is sexy, and she's just as beautiful and sexy on the inside as she is on the outside. Andi is the whole package. And it's always so much fun to collab with her, and I really hope that we will do this again down the road sometime. I love doing these with her. And I would also love to know what your guys' memories are of the phenomeni that I talked about, or that we talked about in this collab video today. Share your memories with us in the comment section so we can chat about it. I love to do that. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your lives to sit down and watch this video. If you're new here and you enjoyed what you saw, please consider subscribing, smash the like button, and of course, comment down below in the comment section. I love to chat with you guys there. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. I cannot wait to see you guys again in my next video. But in the meantime, please take very good care of yourself. Be well, safe, happy, and I will see you soon. Bye.
Drop it.